The NFL preseason, when you talk about retread signal callers, it is not really about that. It might be rehab at this point, but it's a lot of proven guys that are going to go out there and make it happen. Tua Tagovailoa is going to start on Friday for the Atlanta Falcons. While he is not QB1 because he is in a dog fight or a Falcon fight with Michael Penix, Kevin Stefanski says Tua is going to start week 1. He's not going to name a starting quarterback for the regular season. The Falcons will play at Pittsburgh. Michael Penix isn't even clear to play, so the second quarterback out of the gate after Tua plays will be Cooper Rush. Remember, Cooper Rush had a lot of time with the Dallas Cowboys for a while. So Tua is going to run the Atlanta Falcons system. Tua was a starter last year. Tua was a Pro Bowler. Tua threw for a lot of yards in a system that was sort of, kind of, might have been designed for him with Mike McDaniel, who is now in Los Angeles with the Chargers and is completely in awe. And if you haven't seen the videos, you should check them out. McDaniel, still doing the McDaniel stuff, has Justin Herbert as his quarterback and signal caller, and he is amazed by Herbert's arm strength. It's it's sort of corny, but it's also like, wow, what was he missing out on not having these things? Tua was a starter. Tua was a guy that I guarantee you, if you play fantasy football at any point in the past 5 years, was placed on your team just as quickly as Tyreek Hill was. You're like, instant offense.
Oh, yeah.
Instant.
I remember one, this might have been this is probably 4 years ago now at this point, which kind of shows how much he's kind of fallen since then. But there was one game, it was him and Tyreek Hill, or maybe it was him and Jalen Waddle, but combined for 4 or 5 touchdowns, and they were just absolutely going off. He was throwing for 300, 400 yards. But he couldn't really maintain that level, especially with the Miami Dolphins team that now would have been surrounding him. But we'll see if he can get it done with the Falcons around him. I'm not so sure that's the case, but we'll see.
He's got weapons. They got to stay healthy. NFC South, a little bit different of a situation here. Same way with Cleveland, right? Cleveland's got Deshaun Watson back. Maybe this isn't a retread, this is a rehab. He's finally healthy after years and years and years. And if you set all the legal things aside, he's going to start in their opener. And he's a proven quarterback. There's a reason why Cleveland paid the price to pry him out of Houston. Now, this is years ago. And this is about rehabbing image. The same thing in Minnesota. Minnesota's dealing with a quarterback. They wanted a quarterback competition. They got one after making the mistake of letting Sam Darnold go. Because if you're in a Kevin O'Connell system, let's be honest, if you're in a Kevin O'Connell system, you have seen the quarterbacks that have rolled through there. And they have magically turned seasons in Minnesota into millions and millions of dollars elsewhere. I don't know why they don't stay, why they don't want to make the commitment to guys. They tried to make the commitment to J.J. McCarthy, and they didn't because Kevin O'Connell said, Kyler Murray is going to be the guy. Kyler Murray is not a retread. The guy was starting in the NFL since day one, and maybe it was system that kept him from reaching potential. Perhaps it was the revolving door at running back. Consistent running game there too. Marvin Harrison Jr. aside, name somebody else outside of Trey McBride that he could throw the ball to. And when those guys were being double-teamed, everybody else in the Cardinals system was dropping passes. Cardinals were awful last year. That's why they've gone through so many coaches. Can't say much about their ownership, but I can say about the rest of the team. The team was junk. So maybe it's the role there. The retread in that room, and I didn't realize he was there, but he is there, who's going to play this weekend behind J.J. McCarthy, Carson Wentz. Remember when Carson Wentz was the belle of the ball? That was 3-4 seasons ago? Philadelphia could do no wrong. North Dakota State. Be careful with those Dakota quarterbacks. But you see those signal callers, those quarterbacks who were starters last year who now find themselves in fights this year for playing time where the quarterback situations are very uncertain, but they come with the bona fides. It's not, let's see, and I just take the example of the Carolina Panthers right now, where Bryce Young's going to start, but you know it's non-meaningful time, and you're bringing in Kenny Pickett behind him. It's not necessarily retread, but a guy that probably isn't going to start in the NFL again. It's like Marcus Mariota, right? Marcus Mariota just hangs around and hangs around and hangs around. Like with the Tennessee Titans, started 5 seasons, and it just didn't quite work. And he went through a number of offensive coordinators and head coaching positions and, eventually lost that job. And bounced around and went to Atlanta. Had a cup of coffee with the Raiders. And then finally found a home in Washington in which Jane Daniels, who couldn't stay on the field, and Marcus Mariota all of a sudden became a starter. Marcus Mariota is not lighting the world on fire like he used to, clearly. That would be more of a retread signal caller. I'm like, okay, we'll take what we can get at this point. Marcus Mariota, Heisman Trophy winner? Okay. That was 10 years ago. Living on the past. Can't quite do that. But with the preseason, right, you're going to walk into this weekend's action, and we have games starting tomorrow night. As a matter of fact, Atlanta's playing Denver tomorrow night in Atlanta. We will have that game for you here on 99.9 The Fan, where Tua will start. And you can listen to that start, and you'll be able to hear how he is doing. If he is ready to go and can shed the idea of a retread signal caller, but an actual play caller. You're going to go into this weekend, folks, listening to games and watching games and going, wow, that dude's starting? That guy's the starting quarterback? Like he's actually fighting for a job, and he was an all-pro all-pro in his career. He was starting last year. It wasn't out of desperation, by the way, that these teams were starting guys like Tua Tagovailoa. It wasn't that they were in desperation starting guys like Kyler Murray. They were starting them because they were starting quarterbacks in the NFL. The second best option was a significant step down to go do that. So the adjustment period, for sure, the adjustments that have to be made by the NFL teams and the NFL watching public going, wow, okay, it might actually be worth tuning into for a little bit of this game. Maybe the first half. Maybe it's the second half. And even that second half quarterback, as I just mentioned in Minnesota, going from McCarthy to Carson Wentz, that's not a bad step down. You're talking about guys who operated offenses at the very high level and won playoff games. Something to wrap your head around.
I'm Max Goren with 3 things you need to know right now from 99.9 The Fan. The Carolina Panthers and free agent tight end Darren Waller reportedly agreed to terms last night on a 1-year deal to bring the veteran playmaker to Charlotte. Waller came out of a 1-year retirement to join the Miami Dolphins last season, catching 24 passes for 283 yards and 6 touchdowns. 2017 NBA Most Valuable Player Russell Westbrook announced his retirement yesterday. Westbrook played 18 seasons in his NBA career, earning 9 All-NBA selections and 2 scoring titles, while producing the most triple-doubles in league history. The Durham Bulls will look to stop their current 3-game slide tonight at the DBAP against the Memphis Redbirds, where it's Dollar Dog Night. Bulls coverage is available on 620 AM Buzz Sports Radio, 99.9 FM HD2, and WRAL News Plus, with first pitch scheduled for 6:45 p.m. For all the latest news on your favorite teams, download the 99.9 The Fan app or visit 999thefan.com.
The NBA is trying its best to stay number 2 when it comes to schedule. Today's the third of 3 days in which the NBA, after LeBron James making his announcement, it has been made very clear that LeBron James's season this year is dictating many of the nationally televised or nationally streamed matchups. It includes opening week, which was announced 2 days ago. Today is the regular season. All the teams will release their full schedules, their entire schedules, and then you might see some kind of awkward schedule release videos. The NBA is trying to get ahead of that in doing what the NFL did and leaking out a bunch of their primetime and marquee matchups. We learned yesterday that the NBA Cup will last for roughly a month. It's the in-season competition where teams go up against each other. Eventually, there's a prize at the end of the season. People seem to like it. I'm not crazy about the courts, but the matchups in the games have been fairly competitive because it gave a little bit of a boost to a time of year where the NBA is just trying to fight for relevance amongst the NFL. Well, not anymore. The NBA is creating holidays. For example, the day before Thanksgiving, in which, the NFL now offers a triple header to you. The NBA is offering a Thanksgiving Eve triple header. Yes, indeed. They will start games at 5 o'clock in the evening here for us folks here on the East Coast and run right until Thanksgiving morning. Yes, early Thanksgiving morning, you'll still have basketball, a Thanksgiving Eve triple header. On Friday, the day after, Black Friday, in which there is a football game that afternoon on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, the NBA is doing a group play doubleheader for their NBA Cup. We know about the Christmas Day stuff, and then they've added now the tribute to Martin Luther King Day. There's always games on Martin Luther King Day. They're going to do a quadruple header. A quadruple header with, you guessed it, Philadelphia's involved. And they do, again, the same thing on President's Day. The day, and this is the big one, right? This is the larger thing in play. This President's Day is Monday, February 15th. The day before, Sunday, February 14th, not just Valentine's Day, but the day of the Super Bowl in Los Angeles. The day prior to that, every NHL team plays. This is a 3-day weekend of epic sports proportions. They will again do a quadruple header on President's Day. They're taking the holidays that sort of kind of mean something to at least people who enjoy days off that honor national things. And the NBA is like, you know what, we're going to lean into it, and we are going to play quadruple headers. And imagine that on Monday, February 15th, the Philadelphia 76ers and LeBron James will be part of that focus.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know who's I assume going to lead off that day, because I can't imagine there are multiple games at noon that day. It's the Minnesota Timberwolves playing at the Charlotte Hornets.
Oh, homecoming.
It's the return of LaMelo Ball, but I actually heard he's going to be out with right ankle soreness.
That could be true. That could be true. A quadruple header as Ball comes back to take on Charlotte. And I lived on the West Coast for a time, folks. I've made this very clear. I've been on the East Coast for quite a while now. This is actually really wonderful if you live on the West Coast. I get games at 9 o'clock in the morning. I get that Hornets-Minnesota game on President's Day at 9 a.m. I get the Super Bowl on the West Coast put away, tucked away, nice and early enough for me to where I can get up the next morning, and if I have the day off, I can just dive right back in and watch NBA basketball. And they're done by 7 o'clock that day. These work out better for West Coast viewers than they do East Coast viewers, in my opinion. Because on Mondays, knowing that you're going to have to run into work the next day, and you are an NBA fan, and I know there's folks out there like, oh my God, they're talking about the NBA and they're not even back, but well, they're releasing the schedules today, so gird your loins, folks. Get your plans ready. That you have late games that you have to deal with. And the challenging one comes really Christmas Day. With quadruple header, and if you're actually watching games that day, you're dialed in. And I mentioned when we talked about NBA scheduling earlier that, I've worked at Christmas Day doing NBA games. That one's going to be, kind of brutal, because if you're watching Oklahoma City Timberwolves at 8 o'clock and you're going to stay up for a 10:30 game, you're talking, this feels like the playoffs, right? In April, where you're watching games till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. This is that same kind of deal. You got to get up again and get up early for a game. Christmas Day won't be so bad because it leads into a weekend, but those games on the President's Day holiday and Martin Luther King Day, those are late arrivals for sure. So the rest of the schedules come out today. You can make your plans for Hornets in Philadelphia, because LeBron drives the schedule.